Just because the basketball world is shut down doesn't mean your knowledge of the game should too. Sports Business Classroom is here to go in depth on a different area of the business of basketball each week. Coming to you live from his home office, here's your host, Beau Estes.
And thanks so much for joining us again, everyone. My name is Beau Estes here in Atlanta, Georgia, getting ready to bring you another SBC Web Show. We're really excited about this one because we've got some former students in here who have had a whole lot of success. So we'll get to them in just a moment. But before we do, we want to remind you that our heart and our belief and our energy is behind all those frontline workers, those people who are really putting their lives on the line to take care of us during this global pandemic. It's a trying time, obviously, for all of us. And, you know, thankfully, they've done a good enough job now that tonight we have basketball, NBA basketball returning. So thank you to each and every one of them. And as basketball returns, as you watch TV tonight, you'll see some messages from those players on the court, and you'll see a message on the court. It's a message we want to share as well. Black Lives Matter. I live, like I mentioned, in Atlanta, Georgia. We had the funeral for John Lewis today here in Atlanta, and boy, what a moment that was to listen to former President Barack Obama speak. It just really brought everything home. So from us at Hall Pass and SBC, we just want to say explicitly that Black Lives Matter. And speaking of SBC, this show is brought to you by the Sports Business Classroom. We are having a virtual conference this year, August 10th through August 14th. So let's take a look at what all is involved. And before we take a look, let me tell you, you can go to sportsbusinessclassroom.com/virtual-conference to get involved. There it is, Sports Business Classroom coming your way this year, August 10th through 14th, virtual style. Go again to sportsbusinessclassroom.com/virtual-conference to get registered. You know, one thing I'd like to add about all this is, man, I wish you guys could be in these meetings where it's myself, Larry Kuhn, Dave Dufour, Wes Wilcox, the former GM of the Hawks, Seth Partnow. I mean, these are some really bright minds that are working hard to develop an interesting and useful curriculum, and it's a curriculum that has done well for our guests. So let's start welcoming them in now, and we start with a former student, Jeff Siegel. He's the founder of Early Bird Rights. He's a graduate of Georgia Tech right here in Atlanta. How you doing, Jeff?
Doing well. How are you?
Good, man. We're hanging in. We're excited to see some basketball, and I assume that's true of you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking forward to getting back into it after almost 5 months off now, and it's going to be great.
You got to update that website soon, man. Next up, Calida Taylor, who is an attorney, let me get this right, at Neal, Gerber, and Eisenberg. Did I get that right, Calida?
Right. Hey, Beau.
Yeah. Hey, Calida. We've talked about the jerseys behind you. That's Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah, not Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan. So that tells you Kalida's a little younger than I am, but that's okay, Calida.
I'm going to get the Michael and Scotty ones one day, too.
Please update that, please. So if you didn't know, Calida went undergrad at Princeton, and because that's not good enough, she went to law school at Harvard. So she had to upgrade a little bit there. Very impressive, Calida, and one of our star former students. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And finally, it's a guy that works for the league now, Connor Williamson. He's an event coordinator at the NBA. And Connor, first of all, we've talked. I love the hair. Second of all, University of Oregon guy, and I read a little bit about what you said. This was years ago. My long-term goal remains to work in basketball. You've accomplished that goal. Congratulations, man.
So far, so good. We'll see what the future portends.
Yeah, no, I think that's a big part of the program. This Sports Business Classroom is to help you guys achieve your goals and sort of to give you the expert knowledge to progress and make the steps that are necessary to get involved with the league in any way you want. And so let's start off with that. And Jeff, let's start with you. Each of you guys has a unique experience with SBC. So talk to us about what it took to make that leap of faith and jump in, and what made you make that decision to come to Vegas.
I was in Vegas the year before in 2016 for my first summer league, and sort of heard some rumblings about how SBC was going. I believe that was its first year. I knew Larry a little bit at that point, and just heard so many good things about it that it was like, I've got to do this next year. I already knew that I was very interested in the CBA, very interested in the salary cap side of things. And with the new CBA coming in 2017, it was just sort of all the stars aligned, and that was the time that I was going to jump in.
Yeah, it's interesting the different stories and how people arrive at that decision. Calida, obviously you've pursued a law degree. What was it that made you say, man, I want to jump into this SBC program as well?
Yeah, so had been practicing law for a few years, but still maintaining my interest in the league. So like after work on weekends, I was following salary cap, player movement, all of that stuff. And I heard about SBC from Larry's Twitter, and missed the deadline for 2017. And then when 2018 rolled around, my husband was like, hey, there's this program that you should look into. I really think you should go. So he gave me that final push to kind of jump in and go in 2018.
Are you saying Larry's Twitter strikes again?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Larry's Twitter's been quite interesting of late. So Connor, for you, I mentioned your quote, or don't laugh too much at that one, Connor. I mentioned your quote earlier. My long-term goal remains to work in basketball. What made you make the jump to SBC with that goal in mind?
Yeah, so similar to Jeff, actually, I went to Summer League the previous year, like bought tickets to the whole all 10 days or whatever it was, and sat in the stands and just talked to people. And that's how I met people associated with SBC and kind of, learned a little bit about it. And from there, it was kind of just the confidence of the work that I had put into that point, causing me to, bet on myself, for lack of a better term. There's a ton of like cliche coaching quotes along the lines of like preparation negates the fear of failure. And that's, kind of how I framed the decision.
So we talk about that. And then I guess your goal is basketball, right? For all of you, to really boil it down and to make it as simple as possible. What's the process been like in finding your niche, your passion in sports? What was that like for you, Jeff?
I mean, I knew I was heavily interested in the CBA and the salary cap before I got there. I studied accounting in college. I was an accountant at the time that I decided to go to SBC. That sort of, parlays very quickly into the CBA and salary cap and all the stuff that I'm doing now, and getting to know people that summer once I was at SBC sort of furthered my belief that this was, what I was going to go all in for. And this was something that, up to that point, I was working the accounting job. I was working basketball on the side. And then, just shortly after, a few months after SBC, I decided like, let's go for this. Let's try to, take the money that I've saved up essentially and just, pour it into this basketball thing. And, almost 3 years later, we're, starting to see some progress on that front.
Well, what's interesting, Jeff, is that SBC offers sort of the salary cap study, the scouting and analytics, and the media side. So you go there, you go to SBC. Did it help confirm what your interest was while you were there?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that, I studied a little bit before I went just to make sure that I wasn't just totally green walking into that, that classroom. But, once I got there and I realized, this is something that I'm interested in, this is something that I, have a passion for, this is something that I'm good at, that really, spurred me forward and helped me make the decision to really jump in with 2 feet.
Calida, you mentioned Larry's Twitter. You saw it first late, and then your husband saw it. What's been that process like? Did you say to yourself, man, this is a niche I want to get into? You study law, you practice law, and you want to be involved in basketball. What was that process like for you?
So before SBC, I started studying the CBA. I had actually pulled the text of the CBA itself and kind of read through some sections. It just kind of dovetailed really nicely with my skills and my background in law. So just learning the framework of how things were restricted or, player movement and all that stuff. So once I got to SBC, I knew that I wanted to study the salary cap more closely, but I was really loving like the scouting and analytics content, like you mentioned, and the media content, which is a whole nother side of it that I hadn't been exposed to really at all, but beyond being a consumer of it. So for me, SBC, like not only confirmed that I wanted to get into this industry, but it kind of gave me a lot more confidence, if you will, about my ability to talk basketball with people. And, just even the other SBC students in my year, like we bonded really closely. So the whole experience, both the learning experience and the social experience, were great for me.
Well, I want you to, Calida, if you could, you mentioned that, you're interested in the salary cap and everything like that, but tell me, a lot of you guys identify a particular discipline that you want to study when you go there. Tell me what it's like when you learn about the other stuff, the media stuff or the scouting and analytics. What's that do for you as far as when you're at SBC?
So for me, it just gave me a better picture of the front office staffing and how it works, as well as like how the different elements of an organization kind of work together to move that organization forward, and how the social brings it into players and kind of just meshes it all, for the fans and for the consumer. So I was just really glad to kind of get that bigger picture organizational viewpoint for a front office, because I think that before I had been just focused on I want to talk about team building, but it goes way beyond that,
Well, I thought one of the things I thought, and last year was my first year involved with the program, is there's so much stuff coming at you. There's so much information that it must be difficult to absorb it, but you must feel a little pressure to absorb it because it's a concentrated program. You've got a week there. Now, Connor, I talked to you and we mentioned, I got a feeling that sports has always been something you've wanted to get into for a long time. Now tell me, you look at SBC and you're trying to identify if this is the program for you, and you look at the different disciplines. What made you choose your niche?
So I did the scouting and video analytics course. I was a little bit older, I think, similar to Jeff and Calida. Like I was a year out of college. I think a lot of the SBC students are in college. But so I think all three of us came in pretty directed. I similar to Jeff and Calida, have interest in basketball ops, but I also had interest in kind of governing organizational work. So that's specifically with the youth basketball infrastructure domestically and internationally, and kind of how top level stakeholders work together to create an environment where kids can develop properly. So that was really key for me. But just echoing again what they said, like I learned so much in the media sessions. Like I still use the lessons that Andrea Kramer taught us on how to interview somebody. I use those so frequently, and I have no interest in being a media member. But just, some of those lessons can really transcend the discipline that they're used in, and they're really just kind of broad, good things to learn about the industry and kind of how things work.
Well, you're an event coordinator with the NBA. So first of all, tell us a little bit about what that means on a day-to-day basis. And then tell us, you mentioned the lessons Andrea Kramer taught you. What are some of the things that sort of apply in your job?
So my role is basically working with all the different departments in the league to enhance our events, put on events. So our events can be fan-facing. That's thinking like Fan Fest, that All-Star Weekend, called NBA Crossover. Or our events can be just purely basketball operations. So think Basketball Without Borders, Combine, stuff like that. So it's definitely wearing a lot of hats and speaking a lot of different languages to, the audience that you're dealing with. So obviously the SBC grounding and kind of what they would call the general eds is very helpful. And then the second question, some of those lessons, I think just clear communication, I think, was really the basis of what Andrea was talking about. So for instance, when you're asking a question, you want to be very direct and not let people deflect on what their answer could be. So you want to ask exactly what you're asking. Certain things like not asking compound questions to try to get, again, like a more direct answer, I think has been really helpful with me doing informational interviews, just kind of communicating with people that I don't know very well in order to get to know them pretty well.
So my story is I knew what I wanted to do when I was really young. I knew very early on that I wanted to be a sportscaster. I wanted to work with the NBA. So I want to set a marker for you guys real quick. Jeff, we'll start with you. What is your dream job? It may be difficult to pinpoint. It may be easy to pinpoint. What's the absolute dream for you?
I mean, the long-term dream is to
Absolutely.
be
Like the end job. If you could write it out, what's the perfect job?
president of basketball operations for whoever.
Why is
I
that?
don't have
Why
a
is
team
that?
specifically. I mean, I'm very interested in the salary cap side of it, but I also, team building and roster building and how do you fit, different skills together on the floor. Like that's the whole point of this thing. The salary cap, knowing the salary cap is useless unless you understand the basketball side too. So mixing those two together and doing what a GM does, doing what a president of basketball operations does, that's the ultimate goal.
Okay, Calida, same question to you. Your dream comes true. You get to absolutely write your exact job. What is it?
Same as Jeff.
Competition here.
Yeah. It's just like what Jeff said. I mean, to me, that role kind of embodies so much of what appeals to me about working in a front office. The strategy, the competition. I mean, I can't imagine the joy of watching a team that you put together win the championship, and then also just the assembly of your staff and, because there's a strategy in that too. Like who are you bringing in? What types of skill sets? Like all of that appeals to me. I think it would be an awesome job.
Okay, Connor, we've made it clear that you don't want my job, thankfully. So if there is a job that you could just write your dream, what's Connor doing?
Well, I will say that if I, by the time I'm at your age, still have the hair, I will be but career-wise, I mean, I think my dream job would be to, whatever organization it is, to help work and create a better, more holistic development pipeline for basketball athletes, whether that's elite athletes or casual athletes. We can do a better job, and I think stakeholders are realizing now and have realized in the last couple of years things that we can do, and things are moving in the right direction. But that's definitely kind of the area I want to be involved in.
I want to go back to something that we talked about a little bit earlier, Jeff. You have this discipline at SBC that you're focused on. Does what you learn in the program sort of spark in your mind other things that you want to learn? Basically, does learning make you want to learn other things in a different way? Did the program help you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that the scouting, video, and analytics side of things really helped define how I was going to watch film for the next several years. I mean, I'm still using some of the tools that I learned there to when I go into watching film, when I go into watching a game, when I'm trying to evaluate these players to try to get a sense of, what is their value in the marketplace. That's, all of that stuff sort of helped me, helped spur me forward to, want to learn more about how coaches think, how scouts think, all of that stuff on top of the salary cap knowledge that I gained while I was there.
Well, Calida, I imagine it's the same for you since you're always learning, jumping from Princeton to Harvard. Tell me a little bit about that experience for you. And at some point, I want one of you guys to give me sort of a 30-second thumbnail sketch of what that scouting and video analytics is. What are you learning specifically in there?
Yeah, so for me, I really left SBC. I almost wanted to learn how to program like R and all of a sudden. Some of the tools that I was exposed to on the analytics side, I was just blown away with how advanced that side of the world is. So I was definitely motivated, but I mean, scouting too, and and like I said earlier, I also just kind of wanted to learn more about the role that the other aspects of the front offices play in basketball, decision making and in the performance of the team. So health, that's another area where I was really intrigued by the advancements that they've been making. But I did not major in scouting and analytics. So my exposure at SBC was through kind of the general sessions that we received, where they brought in Kurt Goldsberry and some other great people to talk about the work that they're doing and some of the tools and the way that you interpret and use them.
So I'll jump to you, Connor. You make the jump to an event coordinator at the NBA. I'm trying to understand. You're at SBC. You have this directed focus while you're there. Did it make you sort of see things differently in other areas that you wanted to learn as well?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely.
Or did it confirm that I just want to really stick with what I am learning?
Well, I think both. I think it confirmed that I was pursuing the thing that I wanted to pursue, but it also gave me a different context for the other areas. So for instance, like Jeff and Calida, they both know that when you're the GM of a basketball team, you're not just the GM of the team that's on the court, you're also the GM of the ticket sales, you're the GM of the social media, you're the GM of everything. So I think in that context, it was very helpful to just learn and get my feet wet in a bunch of different areas.
We talk about SBC not as an expense, but an investment. Jeff, tell me how's being part of this network helped your career grow, and tell me about the relationships you've developed as well.
I mean, it's been immense. It's really, truly what kickstarted my career. I really can't say enough about how important it was for me to go to SBC in 2017. Learning from and connecting with, leaders in the industry was an invaluable experience. I really think, from the other students. I mean, I live here in San Diego. One of my roommates who actually just moved out a couple of months ago was somebody I met at SBC. So it's not just about furthering my career. He's a good friend of mine. And we just happened to both be from San Diego. So, we lived together for a few months as well here. On top of that, other students, Malik Rose was in my class. Cody Toppert was in my class, who now works for the University of Memphis. They're just the students that you're going to be there with, and the instructors, Larry, Nate Duncan, Eric Pincus. For me on the cap side, those were the big three people that I really wanted to meet for the salary cap stuff. And so, just being able to meet those people, talk to them face to face, make connections with those people. It was just so important for me to, be able to do that.
So Calida, jumping on with that, I guess there is the curriculum, but there are the relationships as well. How much has that been an important part for you?
To me, it's been the most important part because, like Jeff said, it's being able to meet and establish a connection with Larry and the other instructors, Eric, Nate, all of them. But then also, for me, I was able to come back and intern with the SBC program the next summer and also work with the Summer League. And that opened up a whole nother, it's kind of like the next step of the connections it's been building ever since my SBC year. I was able to do another experience that I can't talk about right now, but I'm really excited when I can talk about it.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That experience came from SBC as well. So for me, it's been, like I mentioned earlier, the connection with the other students who I'm still in Discord, chats with and everything, with Larry and Eric and all of them, but then also other experiences that came directly out of SBC in the summer after and earlier this year.
In television, that's called a teaser, Calida. Well done. I'm impressed with what you did there. So I guess, Connor, coming to you, for me, I got started in television in 1994. Don't laugh, anybody. And the people that I came in with are still my friends today. Some of them are running networks. A good friend of mine will produce Inside the NBA tonight, basically the basketball show of record. These are all my good buddies that I came up with, and you guys have developed friendships that help you also network as you grow in your career. Connor, tell me about how the relationships and how important that aspect was for you.
Yeah, I echo and would like to amplify everything that Jeff and Calida said. I'm still in group chats with people from SBC and also the intern group from Summer League. Some of my favorite people with some of my favorite perspectives on the game and the business of sports are people I met in SBC and were Summer League interns. There are not a lot of places that you can find a group of people that are, have the similar niche interests that you do. I mean, there are niches within the basketball community, but the basketball community in and of itself is a pretty strange niche. So, any opportunity to be a part of that and dig in more, I think is a really good one from a personal standpoint, but also a professional standpoint.
Jeff, what is it about this experience that makes students stay so close?
I mean, it's just you get to talk to people who are just as invested in the NBA as you are. If you're going to spend the money, if you're going to spend the time to come to SBC, that means that you love the NBA at a level that is higher than a lot of people. And you get to meet 40, 50, 75 people who are just like you, who just love the game, love the very intricate details of the game, not just sort of the off the court fun stuff, but like everything that, goes into, how teams are built and how teams are employed on the floor. And it's just to talk to people with that level of interest in something that you also have that level of interest in. That's the building block for these connections.
Calida, for you as well. Why do you guys stay so close? I saw it last year. These students are still in the same text threads that I see all the time. They form sort of social media teams and everything like that. What is it about that experience that makes kids stay so close? I say kids. You guys are the age span from 19 to as old as I am.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, like for a lot of us, it's the first opportunity that we have to like completely nerd out. Because like back home, we're like I was the only person,
Does that ring true to you guys, Jeff and Connor? The whole nerd out thing that Calida said.
Absolutely.
Like when I got to SBC, people were telling me about trades that happened involving like the 13th man on two random teams, and like I was like, yeah, I remember that. We were talking about all this random team stuff. They're like my husband and like my friends are like, I don't know who that guy is, but like they're basketball fans, but they're not like, we're a little different.
Connor, just in listening to Calida and Jeff, it sounds like what they're saying is we found our people. Is that right?
Absolutely. And I think another thing that helps is that, you all go in and nobody knows each other. So everyone is in the same boat on equal footing of trying to meet people. And everyone's looking, not only does everyone have the same interest, but everyone's kind of in the same spot as well. So it's like freshman year of college all over again. Everyone's just green and wide-eyed and just endlessly curious.
Well, and one thing, Connor, we got to get you to mention is being a part of this SBC program means you're also a part of the VSL talent program, and tell us how that worked for you.
Yeah, so I think that was started the year that I interned for Summer League, and Sergio, who I think we all know, let us know. So it's kind of like LinkedIn, but it's private.
Yeah, it's like an upgraded LinkedIn for basketball folks, right?
Exactly. So I plugged my info into there. Sergio kind of hit us up saying they're putting this thing together. I said, great. I plugged my info in, kind of, threw in my career interests, and some of the classical resume things. And I want to say 3 months later or so, I got an email from someone at the NBA looking to have an interview. And then by the end of that week, I think Steve, my current boss, emailed me on a Monday, and I think by Friday I had gotten the job. So I was I didn't really know what to expect when they started the VSL talent thing, but within three and a half months, I was employed. So definitely some strong results on my end.
That's a great success story. When I realized we were doing this show with you guys, I reached out to Dave Dufour, first of all, and I said, give me something you want to ask these guys. Tell me what you want to know from them. And so Dave's question, you guys can all answer that. What's the most important lesson you've learned since SBC? And Jeff, let's start with you.
Wow, the most important lesson I've learned since SBC.
Tough question. Dave's not easy, man.
Yeah, he knows how to pick his questions. I think the value of being prepared, the value of having the baseline of knowledge. I mean, certainly when you get to a certain level within this NBA community, it's a lot about making connections. It's a lot about sort of having people in your corner who are willing to help you. But just getting into that higher level of the community means you have to have the sort of high level of knowledge just to sort of make your dent, make your sort of carve out your area in this industry. And that's all about being prepared. That's all about studying. That's all about, watching film. That's whatever your niche is, go all in for it and really, try to be as prepared as possible so that when an opportunity arises, you can, hit it out of the park.
Calida, your most important lesson since SBC?
So I definitely agree with what Jeff said. I mean, I think for me to add on to that, it's been, I was exposed at SBC at the type of hard work and attention to detail that's necessary to kind of begin to make yourself stand out, especially for purposes like me of kind of changing careers. where you're trying to kind of communicate a value to people who might say, well, I don't know, you're a lawyer. But that, for me, I always go back to that, and to go the extra mile and then a little bit further. So that's kind of what I took from it, amongst other things.
Yeah, genuine hard work really is a part of it. Connor, for you, you're working at the league now. What's the most important lesson you've learned since SBC?
Something that ties into something that Warren Legary talks about a lot and Albert talks about a lot. It is such a privilege to work with a group of people that is smart and talented and also likes to work hard and put in the type of work and preparation that Calida and Jeff talked about. Pursuing opportunities that put you in those groups of people is probably the most rewarding thing you could do professionally. And that goes, regardless of whatever industry you're in, working with people that have empathy and that work really hard also and are very talented is an incredibly rewarding experience.
So that takes care of Dave's question. You guys know how shy Larry is, camera shy and everything like that. But I understand that Larry may be available. Can we beam Larry Kuhn in? Is he around? Do we see a Larry Kuhn anywhere? There he is, Mr. Shy.
Hey,
how are you, Larry?
Hey, there was a red light on a camera, and I just had to pop in front of it.
Well, they've answered Dave's question. Now, I know you've put a lot of thought into this one. What sort of question do you have for?
I have a question for all of you, and it's actually a two-part question. Part one, Who did you learn more from at SBC, me or Dave Dufour?
Okay,
and part
you're on
two,
the spot, Jeff.
And part two, who do you like better, me or Dave Dufour? Now, before you answer, let me remind you of the ground rules. Ground rule number one, obsequious answers only. Ground rule number two, I am the GM and I can fire his butt like that. Go
ahead, Jeff. You're on the spot.
I'll take
Who
Larry
did you learn
on
more for?
On both counts. I'll gotta help my friend Dave keep his job. I'll take Larry on both counts. Don't want to make anybody mad.
Okay, Calida. Larry wants to know, who did you learn more from, Dave or Larry? And who do you like better, Calida? Remember, by the way, we're recording this, so we can play this back. Okay, just remember that.
Yeah, I'll be sending a text to Dave after this, but I'm gonna go with Larry on both as well. Just recognizing, top dog, and But yeah, love Dave too, though.
Connor, now the spot is on you. Let's see how you can politically navigate this answer. It's sort of a GM test, really, to see if you can handle the media.
Absolutely. I bet Dave is wishing he had asked a different question. Who did I learn more from? I think that's Larry. I mean, the salary cap stuff. He's like a human computer with that. I had to Google obsequious too, so I learned another word today.
You got servile compliance, right? Servile compliance?
Yep, that is correct. As far as who I like more, I mean, they both are so likable. It's hard to choose. But in the interest of keeping Dave employed, I will have to say he is less likable than Larry.
Well, Larry, I'm impressed by how smart these students are, because they all answered in the interest of keeping Dave employed, they're going to choose you. What do you think about how they navigated that answer?
I thought those were perfect answers. I knew it from the start. These three people are winners, and this just proves it.
Larry, thank you so much for beaming in. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Good to see you all.
Yeah, take care. We'll see you August 10th for sure. Jeff and Calida and Connor, you got to stick with me for just a second. The last thing I want to ask, and we ask this of everybody on the show, advice for students, first of all, that may want to jump on board with this August virtual conference, and what they can be doing at this point in their lives with sort of the world on a pause. Jeff, we'll start with you. Sort of give students your best advice.
It's easy to get overwhelmed. I mean, this is a 5-day conference, whether you're virtual or in person next year, hopefully. It's easy to get overwhelmed with all of the information and all of the various connections that you're trying to make. I mean, you have such a short time to get so much done that if you can prepare ahead of time, that's the best way to handle it from my perspective. I think, for me, the 2017 CBA was signed in December of 2016. By the time I got to SBC in the summer of 2017, I had read it. I had sort of familiarized myself with it so that I wasn't just so overwhelmed with the information that Larry and Eric and Nate were throwing at us. That way I could, focus on making connections. I can focus on filling in the details that I had missed on my own read through, but not trying to learn a, hundreds of page document all in this 5-day span. Teach yourself a little bit going in, try to reach out to these people before you get there, reach out to the instructors with whom you think you should, you want to connect, try to do as much as you can beforehand so that you don't have to do everything in this 5-day span.
Calida, to you, advice, and think of it in terms of like, there's a pause in the world. How should students be using their time? And hey, guess what? August 10th, there's a virtual conference that I just made that pairing in my mind just now. But what advice would you have for those students?
Yeah, so definitely, like Jeff said, advanced preparation is key. I would also say, watch and analyze the games. And, if you're the type of person who processes information by writing, like write, even if no one's going to read it, or, do whatever you can do to just kind of engage with the games that are going on right now, very actively leading into the conference. And then also, like, when you're at the conference, like, be yourself from the first minute of the first day. Like, try to get over that kind of overwhelmed feeling and like just lean all the way into what makes you nerd out, what makes you you. I think that's what allowed me to get the most out of the program.
Why is being yourself so important, Calida, in a situation like that?
So, I mean, I think like not only do you want to present yourself to the other students and to the instructors, but like for me, sometimes I'll like tell myself like not to answer a question, like, oh, that's kind of a stupid question, or, try to like get in my head a little bit. And I didn't do that with SBC. And so I got all my questions out, like, even if they were a little stupid. And I just engaged with people. I felt like in a really authentic way. And I think that just meant the world in establishing those connections.
Connor, I know you're very busy during what we consider a different sort of time. What advice do you have for students who are trying to sort of make that next step and they've seen the world pause right now?
I love the write. If you're someone that writes, you should start writing, even if no one's going to read it. I love that from Calida. I think my experience at SBC was honestly very, very tiring in a very good way, but I was very tired afterward. So I would say, if you're planning on attending, do some things to make sure that you're ready to go, that your energy levels are high, that you are in a good space to be authentic and, connect with people, and engage with the content that's being presented. Like Jeff said, it's a lot. And the more you can prepare ahead of time, the more, for lack of a better word, mentally healthy you are, especially with everything going on, the more you're going to get out of it.
All right, guys, I have one more for you real quick. In your mind, it's a virtual conference. Jeff, why should students register and participate in the SBC virtual conference? Why?
I mean, it's going to be similar to the regular conference, other than you're not going to be in person, but you're still going to get all of that information. You're still going to have the opportunity to connect. I've heard a little bit about the behind the scenes stuff. This is going to be just as strong an opportunity for people as the in-person conferences that happen every summer. It's going to be a situation where you really can connect with the people. Just because we're all over the world doesn't mean that you're not going to have chances to connect with everybody that you meet.
Yeah, it may be an opportunity for some students who couldn't afford to come to Las Vegas to get there from anywhere in the world. Calida, in your mind, why should students sign up for the August 10th conference?
Yeah, I think like for me, I'm still on my journey into the NBA, and you want to start now, because what it is it's a foundation. And it's going to take a little time to build, and to make the connection, do that first additional experience. And then from that experience comes another experience. And, so you kind of want to start now. Don't wait.
Yeah. And Connor, in your mind, why would you recommend that these students participate in the virtual conference?
Yeah. And I feel like I'm just echoing everything that these guys are saying, because they're just hitting it right on the head. But I would only add that I'm not sure if there is anything else, from an opportunity cost perspective that you could be doing during that time period that would, leave you better served than going to SBC if your goals are kind of along the lines of what ours were.
Yeah, you never know what the opportunities are going to be like when you go to SBC. One of the things, and I've been given clearance to mention this, is you come to SBC and then you get an opportunity on NBA TV to do something like NBA TV's GM School, which is coming to NBA TV this fall. That's going to be something that's really exciting. We're going to have former SBC students involved in that, so you're going to want to watch out for that as well. I mean, it's just the amount of opportunities that you get that spring from this program are tremendous. Jeff, Connor, guys, thanks so much. Calida, send your billable hours to Albert Hall, please. He'll take care of that. Thank you guys so much again for being such great representatives of SBC and coming on and joining us.
Thanks, Beau.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. And before we let you go, we want to remind you again, it's the virtual conference for SBC. Sign up now, sportsbusinessclassroom.com, virtual-conference. It's August 10th through August 14th. So you're really going to want to be there and be a part of this one. We also want to remind you that the entire family of Hall Pass shows, you can check them all out. Pickup Game with Seth Greenberg. Basketball Jones with Mark Jones. Off-Court Connection. Now, this is a fun one. This is some former students get involved in that one as well. And the Sports Business Classroom web show, that's the one you are watching right now. So thanks again so much, everybody, for watching the show.